Praises and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, whom this world ignorantly call God, in the name of His only begotten, Yahweh Shai, whom this world ignorantly calls Jesus. I say ignorantly because many ignore the Lashon Kodash, or the true tongue of the Hebrews or Israelites. Alright, so this article that I'm going to read is going to express the hypocrisy of the wicked. And what I mean by that is, in the scriptures, it says that the earth is given into the hands of the wicked, right? Now, I want you to think about the Reformation and reorganization movement that took place in the late 1800s, early 1900s of this continent called the Americas, or America specifically. And then with the Reconstruction Act and the Industrial Revolution, that brought about men like the Rockefeller family, the DuPonts, J.P. Morgan Chase, all of those institutions. But basically, namely the Rockefeller Foundation, the Rockefellers, I should say, John D. Rockefeller to be specific, Slovakia, and a man by the name of Frederick Gates, who happens to be the granddad or grandfather of who we know as today, Bill Gates. They did what they call they did a school charter, basically to reform the education, because the education over here in America was first Bible-based. If you go look back in history, you will see that the first form of education in the Americas was the scriptures, the Bible, the Holy Bible, right? So, being that prayer was taken out of schools, even the Pledge of Allegiance, I believe, in some districts and some counties was taken out of the schools. Prayer definitely. So we've seen recently in Texas and Louisiana, I believe they had on bills proposed to re-implement the Ten Commandments back into the schools, and there's been a public outcry from people who are against that happening. So I'm gonna read this article. So basically what I'm saying is, as far as the school system is concerned, it's had a radical transformation over the last 100 or so years, slowly but surely. But I don't make no mistake about it. Now, when Rockefeller, John D. Rockefeller, and Gates, Frederick Gates, issued an endowment fund of over $100,000 towards the educational system. You can look back into the history and find exactly what I'm talking about. They wanted, according to John D. Rockefeller, he wanted a nation of workers, not a nation of thinkers. And that was part of the Industrial Revolution's agenda, was to create a slave worker or indentured servitude worker class of people, to keep the top percentile of people in power and in wealth and fortune, after following Jim Crow era and predating that, slavery, right? So this is what they put in place, and these are called institutions. Now notice the school buses, and then notice the prison buses, and the military buses. These are institutional vehicles that they use to transport what they would deem as their property to and from destinations. Institutions, right? Now, an institution is known as to be a school. An institution is known to be a college. An institution is also known to be a prison. Look into it. All right, so this has everything to do with the topic that I'm covering, and I'll try to be as brief as possible for the sake of time, right? I know you don't have all day, and I respect your time. Okay, now let's get to this article. It says, religious education lost at the Supreme Court, but it's winning everywhere else. That's the title. Now I'll get into the article. The court rejected a religious charter school, but conservatives may get much of what they want in a school voucher program that passed the House this week. This is reported by New York Times, and they wanted me to pay to subscribe, but I'm not doing that. So here we go. On May 23rd, 2025, a Supreme Court ruling on Thursday prevented the nation's first religious charter school from opening in Oklahoma. In a 4-4 vote that seemed to put the brakes on a conservative movement to expand government funding for religious education. But the ruling may prove to be only a speed bump for the conservative education agenda. Conservatives are poised to get much of what they want and more through a powerful school voucher movement that has raced through Republican state legislatures and is on the precipice of coming to all 50 states. On the same day that the Supreme Court rejected government support for religious education in charter schools, the House narrowly passed an all-encompassing piece of domestic policy legislation that could create, for the first time, a federal school voucher program. Hear that? Federal school voucher program, because if the state's not going to do it, the Fed is going to do it. Why? Why the Fed? The federal government is controlled by foreign, what you would call diplomats. They deploy foreign policy to this nation, right? So they have the Council on Foreign Relations, and also the foreign bankers are basically in the foreign policy makers are those foreign bankers who have turned the continental Americas into the United States federal government, aka corporation. So the federal government is the one that tax people. They impose taxation on people, and they also make the money. There was a saying, Slovakia if I'm wrong, or excuse me if I'm wrong, but there was a man by the name in history named Lord Mayor Rothschild. He said, give me control of the supply of a nation's money, and I care not who makes its laws. I'm not sure if that's a direct quote, but it's to paraphrase. But he basically was expressing that the Rothschilds and the Rockefeller families, basically, but it's mainly the Rothschild families who control a vast amount of the world's wealth, because they print money, and they got into what they call fractional reserve banking, because they started off as the family started off as goldsmiths, and they would have to loan money to the Bank of England. The Bank of England controls the finances. They have a what they call a lord in England, London, England, and he is pretty much the lord of the finances, you know. And if you know anything about the Washington D.C., the Roman Catholic Church, and London, England, those three specifically are what they call, I forget what they call it exactly, but those three parties are working in conjunction. They're working together, right? It's called a three-city empire. Now, this three-city empire is real, because look at the Washington D.C. flag. It's got the three points or three stars on its flag, and it's not the United States flag, right? It's not the flag for the United States corporation. Remember, corporations, they fly flags to signal that they are doing business on the land of the indigenous, the Aborigines, right? The so-called Israelites, the natives, Latinos, and so-called blacks, right? So they're doing business over here. So they are foreign entities doing business over here. And only way that they can really do business with us is if we are given, if we are naturalized, born citizens. That's why they had the 14th Amendment, because the 13th Amendment supposedly freed the quote-unquote slaves, which I believe was actually the Slavs, from bondage. There is a document that I have that talks about that the 14th Amendment excludes Aborigines, or African Americans as we were called back then mistakenly, but that excluded us, right? So we're actually not citizens. I personally have documentation from the Department of Homeland Security stating that upon their interest search for person-centric data for citizenship, they were unable to locate that information or that data. That's because they know that when I was birthed here or born here in America, that I was never to be a citizen or considered to be a citizen. In the Constitution, they called our people, what is it, 3/5 human? So we're not even human, to be honest with you. We are man and woman and children, or heirs, I should say, right? But let's get back to personal beliefs and religion, right? So once the federal government, which is which deems all of us that have Social Security cards and identifications and driver's license documents, those documents denote property ownership of the holder, right, or basically of the document. But if you hold it and you're claiming to be a citizen, you are a citizen of the United States, right? A piece of property. So this policy is very much like a belief. It's a belief system. It's a religious system, right? So being that that's the case, and America has been catching hell lately, for lack of a better phrase, they are now attempting to switch the narrative, namely the Bible Belt Christians, right, of the Roman Catholic Church. And it's not to say anything negative about it, but I think that those people who actually believe in the Bible, they have a misunderstanding of what the Bible really is, because it's the book of genealogy for the children of the Most High Yahweh. It's for who we call ourselves Yahweh, because remember, his children are named after him. And why come these Christians don't even know that? And how they don't know his name is Yahweh, the Most High Creator, right? And you may be wondering where I get this information from. It's taken me well over a decade to study and to listen to elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well and taught me this truth. So you hearing me coming out at this point boldly for the truth, still being humble, and very much so enlightened, and what the mysteries and dark sayings of what the scriptures are saying. The scriptures are basically the word of Yahushai, whom this word is really called Jesus, and he cometh in the volume of the book. So when we see things, they definitely are relative to what the prophecies are saying. So we know that these people, they know that they have to get back to at least a basic understanding of what the Bible is saying, and to uphold their integrity, as it were, and morale, they have to go back to a Bible-based educational system, because they see the children are monstrous, I don't use that phrase lightly. We are seeing mass, school unalivings, and we are seeing gross imbalance and balances and weights. We are seeing injustices abound. We are seeing and witnessing a specific demographic, namely the Israelites, the so-called blacks, so-called natives, and so-called Latinos being discriminated against, and deportations happening, and then the actual people are in uproar about it and speaking out about it, speaking out against it. And these are the times that we are living in. But I feel like, well, I shouldn't feel, it's not about emotions and what I feel, but from what I see, they're making an attempt to try to, what they call save face, basically, and cover their tracks by trying to appeal to their religious orders, right? And so you got to remember, the Fed has their policy, which is their belief, and this is in turn their religion. That's just the point I'm trying to make. So it is already a religion. So why would you in the Supreme Court deny a religious charter school when all of your public schools are indeed religious, because they're pushing an agenda, a belief they are imposing upon people that is not right, and it is very institutionalized. these children are beginning to notice at an earlier age. The elders have been noticed because they have teaching the younger men and even the younger women. Some of them are listening. Some of the aqua, right, that are in the spirit of truth, and we are crying out against this oppression, this spiritual Edom and Sodom, right? The new Babylon the Great, right? So this is the state of affairs here in this nation. So I just wanted to cover this article to show the relevance of Scripture from my understanding, and interpretation, and hopefully this has been edifying. I'll close here. Shalom to the hopeful elect. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. And shalom to the hopeful elect as well. Right? So with that, I'll say Barak Thon. Om Yasharallah.